writing about the way that sports funding is appropriated, essentially. And he makes a very fair point based on a lot of the documentaries in England about their investment beyond the 2012 Olympic Games, where it was estimated that to win a medal, they needed to spend around £1 million per medal at Olympic level. Points out that Ireland did very well at the recent World Championships in Belgrade, but raises the point as to whether it would be better to spread that funding across the board for sport to try and grow sport in the country, or is it better to use that money to track the career of a few elite athletes?
It's a very good piece to make people think, I think. It's basically, the argument is being there, you're spending all this money on an elite few and they get a few medals, and the talk, if we remember back actually to when the Olympics were in London in 2012, the talk was going to be of this big legacy of 2012, how it was going to encourage kids up and down the UK or Great Britain to become wonderful athletes themselves and encourage physical activity. I'm not sure that legacy is there. There's been some other interesting legacies which we don't have to get into right now, but I don't think that was it. And he actually has some interesting figures here about from Ireland, and he quotes actually a piece from Brendan O'Brien that was written in the Examiner earlier this week. No Olympic sport gets more high performance funding from the public purse. Rowing Ireland will take in almost $4 million in taxpayers' money in this shortened 3-year Olympic cycle. Its carded athletes account for €757,000 in 2023 alone. And if that sounds like big money, it merits some context. And he goes on to say that Team GB had almost 28 million of public money invested in its elite programme for the Tokyo cycle. And 41 rowers went to the Games and came back with 2 medals. Ireland's only a fraction of that financial might, claimed a pair of podiums too, but they finished above the neighbours in rowing's medals thanks to one of them being gold. And I suppose you have to ask yourself, what is the value of an Olympic gold medal? And the bigger question I'd be asking is, why can't we do both? And just for the pure reason that when Paul Kimmage, he goes through about some of the reviews that have been done. And for example, there was one review. One man, the architect of the achievement, refused to be interviewed but sent an email that would remain on the cutting room floor. This is about Team GB. I've been asked to sum up how I feel about what has been achieved during the National Lottery funded era of British global sporting success. The conclusion I've come to is I would happily trade all of the medals, the records, the Super Saturdays, the gongs for a thriving, safe and inclusive national competitive system. A year later, Peter Keane, the performance director of UK Sport from 2004 to 2012, gave a fascinating interview to Owen Slot from The Times and explained his reservations. There was glory, but not much joy in cash for medals. High-performance sport was an ugly business, rife with scandal and bullying, and was everywhere. And to be honest, that seems to be the story worldwide. We're spending a lot of money, and this is sports in general, I'm not talking about an Irish context at all. A lot of money goes to the elite few. What do we get out of it? Some people go on to achieve great success. We've all seen the terrible catastrophes that happen as well along the way, and the personal catastrophes and the value of coming first, second and third and and even those who do come first, second and third, their lives aren't always glittering with gold afterwards either. And maybe we need to change our perspective. Why not fund Olympians, but why not also ensure that every child has access to somewhere to play? And that's the bigger question out of all this. And it does make me very angry. You know, you see people out, policymakers as well, decision makers, they'll be on social media, they'll be online, they'll be interviewed on radio saying, we have an obesity crisis, we have this crisis, kids don't know how to this, children are, people are suing schools, there's a compo culture, all this kind of stuff. We haven't created a culture. Like, something very simple to me was, somebody explained to me, look at the housing estates around Ireland. Some might have no greens at all, and some might have a green, but the child has to cross a busy road to get to it. Like, we do not create an environment that's conducive to physical activity in this country.